Greetings once again. We are on the Unpopular Opinion Couch. It's ABBA Ayala Amlak, Heruse Kemang Kamunu Zinyolengwe Nuboya Bengwe, Usilo Samans. Today, we have my brother. He will introduce himself. We are going to talk about us. We're going to treat this kind of like a family meeting. And the reason I say this is because my brother here, different culture, different backgrounds, from me that is. And we are going to try and see, is there a commonality between us? Is there a unifying factor between us? Is there something in common between us? Because, truth be told, a lot is being said about colonialism, about slavery, about apartheid, about white people, this racism, that oppression, this, and segregation, that. My question, what I'm more interested in, is how much of that separation, that segregation, how much of that disunity do we have amongst us as Africans? And in the midst of that disunity, can we achieve our goal of liberating ourselves? Please introduce yourself, my brother.
My name is Archibong Basieno. I am currently seen, known, and addressed as a Nigerian, being that I'm currently found in the geographical expression, known as Nigeria. However, I am of the Efik extraction, and we Efiks, actually trace our history to, I would say, ancient Palestine, actually as far as, excuse me, northern India, where Urdu is spoken in northern India. I am in my 50s, and I've been in South Africa 3 years now. I'm a business developer by profession, and I'm a griot by dint of the fact that I'm a custodian of ancient history of not just my people, but ancient Africa, as it were, spanning thousands of years. There's a reason why I am not putting a date to that, because we calculate dates differently, from what obtains currently. So, to the meat of the matter, before I got here, I thought it was going to be more about, where we now know as, the Middle East and Africa primarily, and then that was supposed to seep into your question. So I beg to start from there. The world currently, in our opinion, no, strike that. The world as it is seen from the point of view of Europeans. And the problem there is that the people who only happened on the scene a couple of thousands of years ago are now narrating things that had happened for millennia before they appeared on the scene. There's no way they're going to get it correct. Especially considering the fact that a lot of things is now currently influencing and affecting their views or the truth, as it were. So, Middle East and North Africa at some point has been known as Traceti, has been called the land of the Philistines. But recorded history tells us that the place at hand geographically was known as Chaldea, as Mesopotamia, and currently Iraq, Iran, and by default, Middle East as a whole. I will like to go to the two the two biggest religion currently, which is Christianity and Islam. They can't be ignored because as we speak, the whole issue is the wranglings between these two. So it all boils to our father Abraham. And the Bible and the Quran agree that Abraham came from Ur of the Chaldeans. Ur of the Chaldeans, as we speak, is in Basra in Iraq. Basra is in southern Iraq. If you go to Basra currently, you're going to find people that look exactly like me in Basra. They've not changed, they've not moved, and they've survived pogroms, they've survived migration, they've survived everything. The indigenous people are still there, and they look like me. If you shift to Yemen, you're going to find people that look like me, who will tell you they've been there, their forefathers have been there for thousands of years. If you go to Somalia, Ethiopia, the Horn of Africa as a whole, Middle East as a whole, Northern Africa, in the southern parts of every single country in North Africa, you're going to find people who will tell you, look, they are the indigenous people of the land, and they are all as black as I am. So history currently doesn't even recognize the fact that the original owners of these lands are of a certain, color. And that causes a huge problem. From the times that wasn't recorded to these times, these people have existed in these lands. From the time that has been recorded, they have existed on these lands. They are still there today. And curiously, nothing is said of them. If you read the vast historical books that exist to this day, they are actually left out in these books. No one mentions them. And I find that very curious. However, you'd find that same history books tells us huge stories about Genghis Khan and how he conquered all the way to where we know as Turkey. Same history book actually picks and selects what is recorded about these people, about these places.
It's a history with an agenda.
Yes, that's where I was going to. And currently, thank God for carbon dating. Carbon dating, and thank God for DNA, is continually these days, asserting strongly that the DNAs, the carbon datings clearly specifies what was there, what wasn't, who was there,
and who wasn't.
And who wasn't. And this is a serious problem. The problem being that we have not been able to identify, to the generality of the people on this earth today, what the truth is and what isn't the truth. But let me digress a little to the issue of the religions at play in these geographical expressions and their effects on modern life. So There is Christianity on one hand, there's Islam on the other hand. And curiously, the 12 churches of the Bible actually was in Turkey. And Turkey is actually known to be a geographical expression that is currently being occupied by the descendants of Genghis Khan, the Mongolian. And Genghis Khan had children as he conquered, all the way from Mongolia through southern Europe, all the way to Turkey. So I struggle to understand how suddenly we accept these people are called Arabs. The Arab, as I know, I am careful with the word I. The I being that, that is my argument. The Arab was dark-skinned. In some instances, he was known as Bedouin. In some instances, he was known as the Berber. They occupied these lands. The Ottoman Turks, who now currently do not only occupy that piece of land, who have become Arabs, the fair-skinned Arabs. And please, in no way am I racially profiling a people here. I'm simply trying to,
set the stage for of a history.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
The people occupying the northern parts of Africa today, the people occupying these spaces, northern Yemen, Jordan, Syria, all of those places are now named Arabs. And so I wonder, is Arab a term for a race of human beings or a color of a people? Or what exactly are we talking about here? Arab. What's going on in truth? So we, as a people, I think we need to get together and put the facts as we know in place. I've had conversations where someone actually said something like, okay, where did you get the facts from? Or give us the dates. And I said, no, I can give you facts as written by certain people over a period of time. I can give you dates as put down by some people over a period of time, but I will not do that. The reason is that there's no way I'm going to sit down and allow you tell me when my father and my mother made me. There's no way. Whatever you tell me about that is conjecture. I don't care where you studied. I don't care who wrote what. I am the one who should be able to tell you what my father told me about my creation, not you. So I never accept that. I don't fall into that. I do not agree. Look, education is wonderful. However, I do not think education is for the purpose of having me accept your perception of me. Rather,
I like that. Education is good.
Yes.
But education should not
be me accepting you tell me
what you think about me,
how you even see me.
Yo.
And now,
because this is the result of our education system.
Thank you.
You look at
not just the current education system
of the world.
Of the world.
Of the world.
Yes.
Certain people are being taught certain information for a certain reason.
Thank you.
And unfortunately for us, we are taught. If you look at South Africa, for instance, in our black South African context, we are taught our history, 1652, Jan van Riebeeck. We are taught our history, King Shaka. We are taught our history, we are taught this as our history. And beyond that, none of us know what's happening.
Okay. It shouldn't be a surprise to you. What's the name you just called? Jan van Riebeeck. Arrived here in 1652. The Portuguese arrived in West Africa
In the
about
14s.
1456. The Portuguese.
Dias Bartholomeus, he came here 1652. Jan van Riebeeck Bartholomew came here in the 14s. At the end of the 14s, beginning of the 15s. Because when Jan van Riebeeck first got here, he was Dutch. The people he found there in the Cape already could speak Portuguese.
And he couldn't understand why.
And he couldn't understand. So they could speak Portuguese, they could speak Arabic, some could speak Chinese. And here's the funny thing about South African history. The language we know in South Africa as Afrikaans is actually Dutch, Portuguese, Malay, Chinese, Arabic, and a little bit of our African languages is Xhosa, for instance. Little bit. But what we know as Afrikaans is a lingua franca of all these different people. When Van Riebeeck, the Dutch, got here, he found people already speaking Portuguese in integrated families already. There's this famous lady, the Krotoa. Krotoa could speak 7 languages. And she worked to translate for Van Riebeeck. And she was a mixed child of Portuguese and black people. Who's this? Sarah Batman.
Yeah.
She could speak 4 languages.
The famous Sarah Batman.
The famous Sarah Batman. So, the language, the history of South Africa that is taught starts with Van Riebeeck, because they will have to now tell the truth about the so-called Khoisan. Because now there is this narrative that the Khoisan are the most ancient people in South Africa, in Africa for that matter. And we, who were originally here, my brother is explaining his people's origins. From Mesopotamia, from the Chaldee, from Ur, from Babylon, from Sumeria. We have a different history, me and him. And this is where now we Africans need to come.
Not necessarily.
This is where we as Africans need to come to a table and reveal the truth.
So let me permit me to jump in there a little. So you said we have a different history. Not necessarily. So the expression known as Africa happened within recorded history. You know, there's a school of thought that says it was Africanus, the black Roman general who built the Adrian Wall, you know, that the continent was named after. Some say it's the Greeks. Some say, lots of different opinions. However, Africa is not what just we live in, where we live in now. Where is called the Middle East, there was no such expression as the Middle East. None. When it was Archibong, it encompassed that geographical expression. So up to northern India, when it was Archibong, at the time when it was Tarseti, at the time when it was Nubia, remember, where we call Ethiopia, or Ethiopia was actually how black people were alluded to
by the Greeks.
By the Greeks. So where the empire or the geographical expression called Archibong did not end in the Horn of Africa. As a matter of fact, until the Suez Canal was cut, it was a land route. So now explain to me how you would have Middle East there and have Africa here, and you could get in a boat and go across the sea, the canal into Yemen, into all, and then for some reason those people weren't
We're
together.
not connected.
Those people weren't connected. It doesn't make sense to me. Whereas the black North Africans conquered southern Spain, Andalusia, conquered Europe, beds. And that's wider. And the one that even a child could get into a boat and go across, nothing about it. No story about it whatsoever.
I mean, there's African influences across the Mediterranean Sea.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere. So, yeah, that's what the Mediterranean Sea. So now, we've been boxed into the corner where we feel that there's a difference between Africa
on this side and Africa, on that
Africa
side.
on the other side. And it's not even called Africa. It is called the Middle East, you know. And there's been the expression of the Gulf states. You know, they've been the Arabian Peninsula. Lots of different, for a reason.
And all these names are serving to separate this landmass from this landmass.
Yeah, on one hand. On the other hand, like Palestine, the term Palestine was introduced by the British. And recently, very recent, barely 100 plus years ago, they introduced it. And everyone is hell-bent on foisting that name on that geographical expression.
In fact, that piece of land became an official country in 1948.
Yes. Yeah. Before that time, they called it Palestine. Everyone's forgotten about where the Canaanites were, when the Mobs were there, when the Philistines were there.
The Amorites.
The Amorites were there. They were there long before they gave it a name called Palestine. Long before that. However, it appears all those have ceased to exist. Everyone is holding on to the term Palestine. Anyway, so we have traced the movement of the people that inhabited those lands. The first set of them moved. The first set of these people moved during the incursions by the Caucasians that came from the foot of the Caucasus Mountains. Some set moved in more recent times, or not recent times really, when Genghis Khan, you know, the Mongol conquered all the way to Turkey. And as the people fled downwards, the inhabitants of the place that were black fled southwards, some fled eastwards, and so on and so forth. And curiously, if you look into the Bible and you read the Songs of Solomon, I'm shifting back and forth because I'm trying to I'm going to tie this in. You'd find that the most popular of, besides Christ Jesus, the most popular of the Israelites was who? King Solomon. Even more popular than his father David. Am I correct?
Yeah, man.
Songs of Solomon, everyone, even the scholars have accepted, was written by King Solomon. Am I correct? So if you go to Songs of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5, it's very clear. He said something very profound. I am black, but I am comely. But I've noticed that in some other versions, it's changed to I am dark. And the context changes somehow. Now, the only reason why a man would put the phrase, I am comely, immediately after I am black, says one thing. He was telling you about his physical features, appearance, nothing else. He was speaking about his appearance, nothing else. I am black, but I am comely. I am handsome. So there's no way you could say he was talking about him
what
being...
he was feeling.
Yeah, what he was feeling. He was feeling black in his heart because he did something. Which is what... Yeah.
That's how it's interpreted.
That's how it's being interpreted. But the guy was very clear. I am black, but I am handsome. I am comely. If Solomon... There's no other Jew truer than Solomon. There's no other Israelite that was more Israelite than Solomon. Am I correct? If he would say he is black, but he is comely,
How were the Israelites?
Why do we have conversations about what
The Jews looked like?
why? Why? I mean, it's basically like Shaga's son saying, you know what, I am black, but I am handsome. And then a few centuries down the line, we're having conversations about what Zulus in the time of Shaga look like. Are we making any sense? No, we wouldn't be.
Politically, we are making sense. Realistically, we are not making sense.
Even politically, I struggle to understand how Shaga's son would say he is black and he is comely. And then politically, we are able to sit down and discuss what he looked like. I mean...
But we are discussing the inhabitants of Palestine right now.
Yeah, we're saying the same thing.
And the black people are not featured in that war.
But how will they feature when other people are fighting about a land that a black person said is their land? So
the Bible also says Jesse, who is David's father, grandfather of Solomon, it says he was the blackest of all Jews.
Thank you. So I struggle. I mean, this is 2023, correct? Am I correct? In 2023, I mean, we are clear-eyed enough to see the difference in color. So we are able to, identify who is colored. As I've come to the expression, it's a term, an expression I'm only hearing in South Africa, who's colored, who's white, and who's black. So are we saying Jesse and then his grandson Solomon, who we all agree was the wisest man that ever lived? As wise as he was, he still couldn't understand that he's not a black person. Is that what we are saying? No. In truth.
In truth,
that's the argument here?
In truth, that would be the argument.
Well, arguments like that, I find it difficult to take a part in because I would now have to question
your sanity.
Yes. No, truly. So I think it is very clear. And everyone is playing the ostrich. Everyone is burying their head in the sand.
Soil, yeah.
And we are not saying these things as they are.
Okay. Middle East. Mesopotamia. From the land of, as far as the Ainu in China. It's lands occupied by black people. All the way coming to what we know today as Africa. And this is where now me and you are going to say the same thing, but we are going to differ about the same thing. Caucasians from the Caucasus area, they come down the mountain. The Ice Age is over. They are released from their prison. They come down, they start to explore the world around them. They meet people. And we know in their histories, when in the movies, in the series, in the media, when the Vikings, the Northerners came, they were wearing skins and they were wearing fur coats because where they came from, they were coming from ice. It was cold there. So now they came and started to explore. They start to meet new people, new cultures. Now, they start to push people down now. They invade. And then later on, Abu Genghis Khan come in. And then they start to push. They start to push. These people now, some of them come this way, come into Africa. Some of them go the other way, end up in your New Zealands, in your, what we know today as your Maori, your Aborigines, and all of that. And all of these people have a common history that says, no, we come from a big land up there. Okay. Then this land is occupied by these people who now call it Palestine, and they're fighting over it now. Like really today, there is wars that have been going on for years and years and years, and none of these people belong to that land. We know that a group of them came in from 1945 to in the 1940s until 1948, when officially they were declared a state. We know that there was an Operation Jerusalem. Operation what? Operation Jerusalem. Operation, some biblical name, where they took 20,000 Ethiopians.
It was called Yerut Israel.
Yeah.
Yerut Israel.
Yeah, the better Israel now. They took them and they settled them in Jerusalem for authenticity, because they realized that the area was occupied by black people. But now they didn't go to Somalia and get the people there. They didn't go to Congo to get the people there. They didn't go to Nigeria
or Ghana
or
Zambia.
They didn't go to Zambia. They didn't go to Venda, Zimbabwe,
South Africa.
They didn't go to the rest of those people. We are stuck now in South Africa with Lembas, and then going all the way from South Africa, starting in Venda in the north, you get your Lembas. And then going up, Zimbabwe, you find them, and you Kenya, find another variation.
Yeah,
you
Tanzania,
go up. You understand? Everywhere. Now, this is the part of history that you are saying is our history that we need to reclaim. And the world has been taught the lie about it. Like you said, our father Abraham, you know, he was coming from the land of Ur. We, on the other hand, the Bantu, have a different storyline. We don't come from Mesopotamia or the other side of the Suez Canal. We, the Bantu Dengoni, are originally from the southern tip. We landed here. We appeared here. And us appearing here, now we are mixed with another group of people. Yes, they look like us, like you look like me. But if you really look, we don't look the same. If you really look at the details, nginguni mina. You understand?
I assume that means we in Nguni.
Yeah.
Mina.
Yeah,
that's
me. Mina, I'm Nguni.
Yeah.
I come from Umguni. Now, when you trace the history of Umguni and Umuntu, and you trace the biblical histories or the archaeological histories of Mesopotamia and those lands, the dates somewhere overlap. Somewhere. Now, when I say dates, I'm of the same school of thought as you. We don't have chronological dates. We don't have, this is the year 2023.
Please, before you continue, I would like you to note something. So I introduced my name as Archibong now, right? Back home, I go home now, I'd be called Archibong Archibong, Akpan, you know, do Sien Kongo, Ibete. That's just 10. I could go on for like 38, times that by 70.
Okay.
So the Guni or the Bantu tribes, that's another problem that bites at me. The reason is that you are accepting a version that's handed down by a people who had no idea what they were talking about. So the people who would lay claim to certain parts of those land are actually the pygmies of the Congo. The Bantu people, it's the Nguni languages you'd hear, the Bantu languages, you know, an offshoot of the, I speak, I'm an Efegman. The Efeg of the Niger Congo is a part of the Nguni languages. Like you'd say in my language, if I say 1, 2, 3, I say Tiet Ibaita. There's no way you go in Africa and you wouldn't recognize Ita or Ita. There's no way you go in Africa.
But when you come to us, Tina Siti Gutatu, Kunye, Kubini. You understand? So me and you would speak, but somewhere we wouldn't hear each other. There is this narrative. Now, I'd like to correct this. There is this narrative that says the Bantu come from the Niger-Congo Benue region. We don't come from there.
No, you don't.
We are not even attached to that region.
No.
On the other hand, there's the narrative that says that we occupy pygmy land.
No, I disagree with that. I'll tell you why. we are listening too much to
To
the conundrum,
people who
people
do not
who do not
know
anything
nothing about
this
us.
thing. So if you go about to the issue, to the question of Eden, Eden, you know, let's be very rational here. If you traverse the whole globe, there's just one place where you'll find everything: food crops, gold, diamond, everything that would make a place to be known and addressed as paradise. It stretches, and please take note, where you know as North Africa wasn't always a desert, at least not the whole stretch.
True.
So if you go from that part all the way to Cape Town, if you go from what's it called? We just Middle East all the way to Senegal. That's where you're going to find the priceless of things on the surface of the earth. And if paradise is alluded to as a place where everything was,
that should be it.
Thank you. We just mentioned where we found everything on earth. So we're stuck in our head when we are talking about the Bantu people, the Bantu languages, and we think it has to do with the Niger-Congo basin is a small place, you know. Southern Africa is a small place. So something tells me that for you and I to look like this, from Cairo to Cape, from
China
Middle East,
to Senegal,
or from Japan, you know, if you keep the globe, look around the equator, just below the equator, every single indigenous people of that place was black, even to this day, just below the equator. So, in essence, what I'm trying to say is this. When we limit ourselves to what we are being fed now, this argument we are having comes up, whereas it shouldn't. The reason is that in your mind, Nguni speaks only to Southern Africa. Whereas I have come to find out that there are things I have been able to identify that links you to a people in Congo. There are things that link you to the Mandlike people. There are things, Mandinke, things that links you to. It is not happenstance, because there's no possibility of such coincidences because of the vast distance. So it tells me one thing, and it tells me clearly that these people must have encompassed this geographical expression at the point, and then had to traverse and has expanded over time. Like the question of the time frames overlapping, good and true. However, it is very clear from what we have seen. We're having these arguments now about who the Ngunis are, who the Bantus are, and who the Mandinke are. And we've forgotten that the word tribe only seeps into the language, you know, into our minds.
We don't even have a word for tribe.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know how you picked that out of my mind. The word tribe was a non-existent thing. Non-existent. And we have accepted this, and this is how we are now beginning to identify ourselves. Whereas it is very clear, very, very, very clear that the Pygmies must have been in Congo, and they spoke to the region. They spoke to the topography of that region. The Khoisan would speak directly to the desert, their mode of life, everything about them. The same thing for the people you find in other parts of Southern Africa. At a point, the topography of the area dictates and defines, you know.
I'd like to throw a spanner in the wheels.
No, let me shock you a little, or try to shock you. In the same Bible, you know the issue of Jacob and Laban, his father-in-law. How Laban, you know, took out the spotted cows, and Jacob now had to, you know, create spots on the tree. And when the cattle was mating, they beheld that, and then that's how he ended up having more spotted cows than his father-in-law. That tells me one thing very clearly, that your surroundings, your environment, it is in the Bible. You understand? And that little narrative there goes beyond the physical into the metaphysical, into the spiritual, into name it, into sciences. It's what you behold ultimately affects
you
and what comes after you. You understand? So that also tells me that the Khoisan, what they beheld, has affected their outcomes, physically and otherwise. The Nguni tribes in Southern Africa, what they've beheld affected their outcomes. The same thing for us in West Africa currently. Same thing. To the point where a people who have been identified to be a mix of the Ottomans, a mix of the Mongols, who now occupy Northern Africa and occupy Turkey, they're now claiming African. And they're not just claiming it in words, they're claiming it in deeds, which means that the environment has equally affected them. You know, we can ignore it all we want. It has, and it will.
Let's reverse centuries for a bit.
Yeah.
I want to throw a spanner in the wheel.
Okay.
Origin stories. We have our indigenous origin stories before the white man told us about the Bible and God taking clay and creating us. We have our own traditional origin stories.
Yeah.
And some of our stories say, example, the group of people known as Batswana, Bapedi, Basotho, have a story that say they come from Khalowe. Khalowe Ntswana Tsatsi, but Babituha Musimeng, meaning they came from a hole in the ground where the sun rises, right? And then you come to another group of people who are loosely known as Nguni, and not all of them are Nguni, but loosely known as Nguni. They say they come from Emhlangeni. Baphume Emhlangeni, they came from a hole in the sky, came down through a cord, which is the umbilical cord, and then they used, when they landed on the bed of reeds, they took one of the reeds and they cut that umbilical cord. So them as a nation came out of the bed of reeds. Now, one group says they came from a hole. Another group says they came from a bed of reeds. You get another group yet that say they came with the black snake. They came following a great black serpent through the waters coming from the sea. And then they got through the sea, they got into a big river, and then out of that river, people came out. Okay. 3 different creation stories now, stories of origin. Now, and these 3 stories are different from the stories of origin, like the Bible, for instance, that God spoke and then he created with his hand and then he breathed into a man. So, is it possible that on this earth, yes, we may be black, all of us, but is it possible that we do not share a common origin?
I'm very happy you brought that up. So you'd find that each of these stories validates the other. I'll tell you how. If you go to, let me clarify something. If you go to Congo and Cameroon, up to Cameroon, and up to a place called Vandekia in Nigeria, you're going to find a language that is 90% Zulu. Bamileke people and a part of the Benue people in Nigeria speak Zulu. And they have stories of origin. I'm sure you know about the Dogon. What you just told me about here, people coming down from the skies, nah? And then those coming out from the reed, you know, and then the big snake. The doggone people who science is just beginning to prove that
they've been correct.
Yeah, they've been correct all along. Tells you they came from the sky. Match that with the people who tell you they came through a cord from the sky. If you go to southeastern Nigeria, where I come from, there's literally, you know, what's it called? A kanem, ndem. Ndem, they lose them for mermaid, the mermaid spirit. And like in my place, they used to worship a deity called Anansa. Anansa is called a button. Yeah, if you Google it, you'll see it. It's about a snake cult. The people who emanated from the snake. I'm certain you've never ever heard of that from Nigeria. You understand? If you go to a part of Ghana, you're going to hear the same story. So, in a sense, what I'm trying to say is that they're interlinked. However, the Bible, the origin or the creation of man in the Bible does not negate this in actual fact. There's a difference between how man was formed and how man is able to recognize or identify his origin. There's a huge difference.
But let's look at the historical fact.
I am going
Scholars would agree. According to the Bible, now if you go to the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, the world today is about 7,600 years. If you look at the Bible itself, and you look at the lost books of the Bible and other extra books of the Bible, they'll tell you that before the years between Adam and Christ is 5,500 years.
I beg to differ.
But this is what is documented.
If you remember at the start of our conversation, let me interject a little, please. I beg to interject a little. At the beginning of our conversation, I said clearly that I completely disregard those things.
The timelines.
And that was the reason.
Yeah, okay.
That was the reason.
Okay.
This is 2023.
Okay.
They're still finding tusk all over the world that lays credibility to the issue of the sludge, the great flood. Am I correct? And there are two definitions, or there are two explanations to creation in the Bible. Two, in the same Genesis. And it is also written there that a day for God will be 1,000 years.
For man.
You understand? And who's to say what a day really meant to God? No, please permit me to digress a little. We think, what I find most incredible is the fact that we human beings think we have the ability to comprehend the Creator.
But I have a problem with that.
Yes.
I have a serious problem with that. If things of God are above the logical intelligence of man, why reveal them in the first place? I have a problem with a God and a system that's going to say, you'll never understand my things, just worship me and keep in your space.
No, please do not miss where I'm going. I didn't arrive there yet. So understand me.
Why I'm saying this?
I'm speaking to what you just said.
I'm answering the question where you say, a day is 1,000 years to God. But who is to say what is a day to God? Now, if God is going to place a day and have his own interpretation of a day, then that God for me is impractical.
No, okay. See, that's the thing. That we feel, not just you or me, I'm you. You understand? We feel that because it is impractical, therefore it doesn't exist. Do you understand? No, hold on, please.
I stand by that.
No problem. Yeah. I'm bringing my own narrative to the equation. You understand? So, man created this, what's this? This is a Samsung CD, right? And the function of this Samsung CD is to regurgitate what's fed into a tape, right? And then, at some point, this deck or whatever it's called now decides that on its own, it is able to read the mind of its inventor to the point where if the inventor decides that, you know what, a day I used to create you actually meant, you know, I created this in a day. It could have been the day he envisioned it. Not necessarily the day he started creating the rubber parts or the metal parts. It could mean, you know, the day could mean, you know, the 6 months it took him to put together the parts. That's him. At what point does this thing, you understand, develop the ability to question and seek to understand? The paradigm, they don't match, they won't match. So that is not to say that what you say is wrong. No.
But it says...
What do you say?
But it says, I must relegate thinking to a certain extent and allow faith to take place.
Oh, hold on. The issue of faith.
Because I cannot question my creator.
No. Who says that?
Thing is, Samsung...
I wish you would allow me land. I really wish you would allow me land.
I hear you I hear you clearly. I'm not interrupting. I'm saying Samsung is a technical equipment made by man.
Yes.
I'm not a technical equipment. I'm not a piece of equipment.
At what point?
I'm a thinking, sentient being.
And what makes you think this Samsung whatever is not a thinking being?
It's not.
No, hold on.
It's not.
No, let me explain. This thing.
This is why I say you have to put logic to the back now and use faith now.
I'm not even talking logic or faith.
But Samsung is not conscious.
No, you think.
I know. I made it.
If it wasn't conscious, how then how then, if it's not conscious, how is it able to interpret a piece of material that is fed into it and interpret it into sound and picture? It is conscious. It was made, it is conscious. How is this metal I'm speaking to at this moment be able to hold sound, run that sound through to another object, you know, interchange and change that object and replicate it and make and send it back to me as sound?
Thermodynamics.
No, what makes you think? No. Thank you.
It's a whole spectrum of energy.
I agree with you.
But
you
that
saying,
is not conscience.
You think.
No. Okay. Let me change my statement.
Yeah, go ahead.
It is not conscious on the level of my consciousness.
Thank you. The same thing. We can never be conscious on the level of our creator. The paradigm, will never merge.
But now, the Samsung, when I press open,
it opens.
When I put in the CD and press close, it does exactly what I say it must do. Now, listen to me. It understands the commands. No, wait.
Go ahead.
It understands the input, the command input.
100%.
Therefore, the output result is what was the input energetically now. Now, I'm saying, here is the creator who is above me. Created me for a purpose, right?
Yeah. And then
but now restricts me from understanding said purpose.
No.
Now I have to rely on faith, yet that does not have logic. It may be conscious on an energetic level.
Please, before you continue, you
but
just said
logic.
No,
right?
hold on.
First.
It has logic.
Has consciousness what it does. On an energetic level.
What it does is logical. But hold on.
But it on its own has no logic.
Hold on. Who says? Hold on. Before you continue, you just said something now that strikes a chord. You understand? Your creator created, and I mean, it doesn't press you and you do this. But you do what you do, right? But you forget that. It is same way we got the information about being created. He also said that he created and gave you free will. Hold on. I'm not done yet. Gave you free will. Ne? So now, if you have free will that he gave to you, you understand? And it's also written there that, you know what, you choose.
Blue pill.
Hold on.
And Neo.
Yeah.
The illusion of choice.
Hold on.
We both
please.
Understand that free will is not real.
No, hold on, please. Hold on. It is.
Choose to fly now.
I should choose to fly.
Yeah, levitate off the chair.
I'm not a bird.
No,
I'm not a bird.
Then what is the extent of free will?
Now, the extent of free will. Define will. And I'm not going to define it in accordance with the English dictionary. Okay. Will, my power to exercise what I have been able to comprehend. Yeah. What I have been able to comprehend.
Now, Samsung
yes.
has no power to
Who
comprehend.
says Samsung I was fed with the power to comprehend that, you know what?
Samsung
a tape will go into you.
With the power
you will play, you will use. No.
It was fed with the power to execute.
No, the act of execution. That act of execution, it's the willpower it has embedded in it. Now, let's dig into this.
Let's dig into it.
Yeah, let's dig into this. This is getting very interesting, eh? So, free will.
Me, I'm gonna fix my hair at the same time. Carry on talking.
Okay, so free will.
Oh, but
So, free will. Okay, free will and power may go hand in hand in one spectrum. On the another spectrum, they mean two very different things. Okay. Then people talk about, the conscious and the subconscious mind. Yeah, before you cut me off, there is the story about man, being sent away from God's face, right? In the Bible still. Doesn't that explain the question you ask completely? It should, because if a son is sent away from his father's presence, he can't hear his father's voice.
True.
So how then do you expect a son who is no more within range of the father's voice? How do you now expect that son to hear his father's command?
But
no
this
way.
is where now I say me and you are going to differ.
Which is good.
On a cultural point of view. Which is good. On an intellectual and logical. Because now,
which is equally good.
According to us, now when I say us, I'm talking to us on the Bantu side of Africa, the Nguni side of Africa.
What's the word for the creator?
Umkhulu kamkhulu. My grandfather's great-grandfather.
Okay.
Now, because of that fact,
creator,
because of that fact, I can never be sent away from my grandfather. I carry his name. I am him. The creator, now, let's take it further. We call the creator Umdali. The one who created, Umdali. We call the creator Mupi, the one who molded. We call the creator Musigawanu, the source of all that is human. We call the creator Mutanga Kugara, the one who was alive from ancient times. And all of that is related to one thing. Musigawanu, the womb, the source of all humanity. Because I come from my mother's womb, I cannot see a creator beyond her. We call Mutanga Gugara, the one who stood all the time. And we are referring to our fathers and their fathers and their fathers. So in our way of viewing things, we can never be separated from God, and God can never be separated from us. Therefore, God has to make logical sense to us. If not, he must retire.
Okay, now hear this. Hear this. The fact that a man sends away his son, and the son is wandering in the wilderness or the forest, at no time is that son.
I'm sorry, microphone, just bring it.
Oh, sorry, please. At no time is that son ever separated from his father. He is not just in his presence any longer.
Hold on. We are never outside our father's presence because we carry their names.
No, please hold on. He's not in his presence. That doesn't mean he's separated from him. Now, the ancestors, our fathers, our forefathers, I am named Archibong. It's actually my grandfather was named Archibong. His grandfather, it wasn't even pronounced Archibong, it was Asibong, which means, king's father in my dialect, and so on and so forth. We are linked.
So it's a name that's always been.
It's been.
So you understand what I'm saying? So this Archibald is not separated from
hold on. Yeah. Currently I could link the names 1,800 years and link the places, to Congo. I'll link some of them to Venda. I'll link some of them back to Egypt. I'll link them to lots of places. But we are not having that conversation now. I'm trying to say something, all of these people, less than a grain of sand in the scheme of things. All of this, less than one grain of sand in the scheme of things, because that grain of sand has been in existence long before them. And when we talk about the Creator, I feel when we talk about God, I think the Africans have a misconception. The modern day Africans have a misconception of this conversation. We hear that Christianity is a European concept, ne? We hear what the Quran is an Arabic concept. Wrong. The Bible from Genesis to Revelation happened in North Africa. It wasn't in any part of Europe or India or not.
Let me ask
Hold
you
on.
something.
Yes, go ahead.
Let
Go
me
ahead.
ask you a question. Something happens in Pretoria, right? Rugby. Rugby World Cup happens in Pretoria. New Zealand, Spain.
Everyone comes to play.
Everyone comes to play in Pretoria. And then China wins.
Yeah.
Right? China wins the World Cup. Everybody now goes back home.
Yeah.
Right? Now, tell me, is rugby a Pretoria culture?
Not necessarily.
Does rugby belong to Pretoria?
Not necessarily.
Is Pretoria and rugby put into the same bowl synonymous?
Of course not.
The fact that the Bible happened in North Africa does not make it African. Can we agree on that?
No, I will never agree with that.
If I stand in a garage for 10 years, am I a car?
Please permit me to share my narrative. The Bible happening in North Africa as a whole. That does not necessarily mean the Garden of Eden was in North Africa. Don't miss that. I just sat here and explained a short while ago that the only geographical expression on the globe that fits the Garden of Eden is what? Africa as a whole. Not the whole world. Africa as a whole. To this day,
there are rivers in England that part into 4 heads.
That's not even
and the Thames is one of them.
Yes.
And those rivers feed the whole land of England.
Exactly. But
so
at no time,
say
at
this
no
is
time,
the Garden of Eden.
they cannot, because at no time will things grow in the Garden of Eden as it grows where I come from. To this day, as we speak, I will take you to my backyard and take groups, and I know absolutely nothing about healing. But I will take you to my backyard and cure myself. Ulcer is not curable, right? I suffered from gastric ulcers for 22 years. I bled almost to death. I was treated in Lagos by, big doctors. Guess what? Vegetable. These leaves we eat in our part of Nigeria. I was cured. There is virtually nothing you can't cure. But let's not have that.
The same thing
England
can be said about Europe. They've got books about herbs, they've got homeopaths, they've got herbalists.
Yeah.
They've got, since the times of the Druids, the Celts, they've been healing with herbs.
Now, the people as the Celts and the Picts, please, they have no association, they have no filial with Europeans. Correct that, understand that. I need you to understand that the Picts were not white-skinned people. It's there. Check on your phone.
Historically recorded,
yeah. They're not white-skinned people. So,
but they influenced the culture of Europe.
Not necessarily. The culture of Europe, as we speak, is an amalgamation of the Greek, Romans, highly influenced by Black Africans.
Let's take a break.
The current modern
let's hold it
influences.
When we come back,
who taught them how to take a bath?
when we come back, I want us to start there.
Metal sciences.
I want us to start there.
Where did they get education from? We hear about the Greek, the Greek are the fathers of modern. It's a lie. Every single one of those Greeks, from Pythagoras to Pluto to Socrates, studied in Africa when it was Black Africa. Every single one of them. Nothing about education emanated from Europe. Quote me. Take me to the biggest professor anyway. I will give him proof.
Let me stop you there. We're going to take a break.
Okay.
After that, we're going to get straight into that.
100%.
I beg to differ.
Oh, no, 100%.
I beg to differ.
I agree with you.
But unpopular opinion. We are going to talk about this.
100%.
Let's take a break. Let's go and stretch our legs. And then when we come back, I want to tell you how I'm not
in agreement with what I'm saying.